Hello, and welcome back to Way to Fluency, the podcast that helps you build a solid foundation in English. I'm David, and with me today is my co-host, the brilliant Clara.
Hey, everyone. We're so excited to talk about a topic today that is the absolute cornerstone of everyday conversation: how to talk about your daily routine. It might seem basic, but mastering this skill opens up a world of possibilities. Think about it. Every time you meet someone new, whether it's at a party, in a class, or even on an app, what's one of the first questions you get? What do you do? Or what's a typical day like for you?
Exactly. If you can confidently describe your day, you can handle a huge percentage of small talk, job interviews, and social interactions. This topic is perfect for learners from A1 to B1 level because it covers essential vocabulary and grammar like the simple present tense, adverbs of frequency, and those all-important time expressions. It's practical, it's useful, and it's the perfect way to practice without the pressure of a complex topic.
So, let's start with a simple question for our listeners right now. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? Don't think too hard. Is it reaching for your phone? Is it stretching? Or do you head straight to the kitchen for a coffee? Whatever it is, can you say that one simple action in English? We're going to use this episode to build up from that single action to a full, fluent, and detailed narrative of your entire day. We'll give you the words, the phrases, and the confidence to do it. Let's dive into the most important part of your day, the morning. The vocabulary here is simple, but it's the building blocks for everything else. We're talking about verbs like wake up, get up, brush my teeth, take a shower, get dressed, and have breakfast. These are things you do every single day, so they need to be second nature.
And remember to use time expressions and connectors. First, I wake up. Then, I brush my teeth. After that, I get dressed. These simple words create a logical sequence and make your story easy for others to follow. And pay close attention to the simple present tense, because we're talking about a habitual action, something you do every day.
David, let's walk through your typical morning to give our listeners a real-world example. My routine is a little different, especially when I'm working from home. Tell us about your weekdays.
Okay, here's my typical routine on a weekday. I usually wake up at 7 a.m. First, I drink a large glass of water, and then I make a pot of strong coffee. After that, I check my emails and news headlines while I have my breakfast, which is always a bowl of oats with fruit. I always leave my house at exactly 8:30 a.m. to catch the train to work. Notice how I used usually and always. These adverbs of frequency add so much detail.
Exactly. And you can add even more detail to make your story more interesting. Instead of just, I have breakfast, you can say, I usually have eggs and toast for breakfast, but sometimes I have cereal. Or instead of just, I get dressed, you can say, I always get dressed in comfortable clothes for work, unless I have a special meeting. This adds color, makes your speech more natural, and shows a higher level of fluency.
Once you've covered the morning, it's time to talk about the main part of your day, your work or school routine. The vocabulary here is key. Words like go to work/school, study, attend a meeting, work on a project, eat lunch, and leave work. These verbs and nouns are your tools.
And let's use more time expressions like, in the morning, I study history and biology, or in the afternoon, I have a meeting with my team about a new project. Don't forget to mention when you finish. I finish work at 5 p.m., or my last class ends at 4:30 p.m.
And here's where storytelling comes in. Don't just list your tasks. Add a little narrative. For example, I often have a lot of meetings in the morning, which can be tiring, but they are very important. Around 1 p.m., I eat lunch with my colleagues at the cafeteria. This makes your routine sound like a real story, not just a list. It gives the listener a sense of your day-to-day life.
I have a great story about this. A friend of mine, a student named Leo, used to get really nervous talking about his school day. He would just say, I go to school. I study. It was flat and uninteresting. To help him, I asked him to tell me about one specific class he enjoyed. He told me about his art class, describing the colors he used, the people he drew, and why he loved it so much. It was no longer just a list. It was a personal story. He realized he could add emotion and detail, and that made him more confident. He learned that sharing details about what you enjoy makes a conversation much more engaging. Let's take a moment to really focus on the grammar we've been using, the simple present tense. This is the most important tense for talking about your daily routine. We use it for habitual actions, facts, and routines. It's the engine of this entire conversation.
The structure is easy. Subject plus verb. For I, you, we, they, the verb stays the same. I work, you work, we work. For he, she, you add an s to the verb. He works, she works, it works. Remember to practice this S sound. It's a very common mistake for learners, but a small change makes a huge difference.
And for negative sentences, we use do not, don't, or does not, doesn't. I don't work on weekends. She doesn't get up early. For questions, you start with do or does. Do you work in an office? Does he have a lot of meetings? Mastering this is a game changer for basic conversation and will make you sound so much more confident.
Let's practice with a longer example. What is something you do not do every day? For me, I don't drive to work. I take the train. I also don't cook breakfast every morning. I make it in batches on the weekend. What about you, the listener? Tell yourself one thing you do and one thing you don't do. For example, I wake up early, but I don't drink coffee because I prefer tea. Practice these negative statements out loud. Now let's move on to the second half of the day. The afternoon and evening are full of fun activities and relaxation. Vocabulary to learn here includes go home, exercise, make dinner, have dinner, watch TV, read a book, and go to bed.
This is a great place to use adverbs of frequency to describe how often you do something. Always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never. For example, I often go to the gym after work, but I sometimes just relax at home, or I rarely watch TV because I prefer to read a book.
And this is a perfect opportunity to personalize your story. What do you do for fun? Maybe you have a hobby. I sometimes play video games with my friends online for an hour. Or I always listen to a podcast while I cook dinner. These details make your story unique and interesting to the listener.
Let me tell you about a student named Sophia. She was learning English, but she was a dancer. Her routine was so different from the examples in her textbook. She felt like she couldn't talk about her day because it didn't fit the typical go-to-work, go-home model. When I encouraged her to talk about her dance classes, what she practiced, who she danced with, and the music she danced to, her English became alive. She was passionate, and that passion made her more confident, and her English flowed so much better. The lesson is, talk about what you love. It makes the language feel personal and exciting. Once you have the vocabulary and grammar, you need to connect your ideas to create a smooth, natural flow. This is where connecting words come in. We've used first and then, but you can also use words like so, but, because, and after that.
Let's put it all together into a longer narrative. Here's an example using connecting words. I wake up at 7 a.m. and I drink coffee. After that, I go to my office because I have a lot of work to do. I usually get home late, so I just have a light dinner and then I watch a movie before I go to sleep. These words are like glue. They hold your sentences together.
And you can also use questions to involve the listener and make the conversation a two-way street. For example, what about you? What do you do after you get home? Do you cook or do you order food? Do you exercise? This shows you're not just giving a monologue. You're having a conversation.
And here's a tip for when you're talking to a specific person. Think about their life. If they're a student, maybe you ask, do you have homework after school? If they're a parent, do you help your children with their homework? This shows you're listening and helps you practice forming questions. It makes the conversation feel more personal and less like a memorized script. So, to wrap up, mastering your daily routine in English is a fundamental skill. It's the perfect topic to practice the simple present tense, time expressions, and essential vocabulary. It's how you tell your story and connect with others on a basic, but very important, level.
Your action plan for this week is simple. 1. Write down a few sentences about your morning, afternoon, and evening. 2. Practice saying them out loud. narrating your day to yourself in the mirror or while you're walking. 3. Find a friend or a language partner and tell them about your daily routine. Remember to ask them about theirs.
Now it's your turn. In the comments below, tell us one thing you do every day that you really enjoy. It could be drinking your coffee, walking your dog, listening to music, or watching a specific TV show. We want to hear your stories.
If you found this episode helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And if you know someone who's learning English, share this video with them. It's a great way to help them build their confidence with a topic they can use every single day.
Thank you so much for being here with us on Way to Fluency. Keep practicing, keep sharing your stories, and we'll see you next time.